Hello and welcome back to the Kokino Podcast. Today I'm going to talk about a book that I really like, that I read recently that I really like. It is called Impro, Improvisation and the Theater, and is written by Keith Johnstone. And it's basically it's a book about how to do improv and certain things you can do to make improv more effective or make acting more effective or even make writing more effective. But that's not the interesting part of the book. That part is interesting, but really, the most interesting part of the book is like the introduction. It's called, the section is called Notes on Myself. Because basically, this guy, Keith Johnstone, he has really interesting ideas about the way teaching is wrong and about the way society works and about the way that like the brain works and about the way that intuition and creativity work that are just like I have never heard before from anyone else. It might just be because I haven't read that much. But just these ideas, whenever I read them, they're just like a gut punch to me for some reason. Like there's this one point, and they're often like he tells them as kind of like stories. Like there's this one point where he notices that whenever he tries to think of something, like think of a house or think of a past memory or something, he always looks up and to the right, and he realizes that he never actually really looks at the picture in his mind that he's actually thinking of. He never actually attends to it. Whenever he tries to look at it, directly, it always disappears because like the moment that you actually realize that something is something, that's when you stop looking at it and thinking about it. Then you stop needing to think about it. And so he tries slowly over the course of like a long time, trying over and over again, he tries to actually look at an image that he pictures in his head carefully at all the details. And then he starts seeing like strange details in the image. Like there's this one time he's trying to picture this time when he was at like the doctor's office where there was a bunch of doctors around him. I think he'd broken an arm or something like that, and they were trying to fix it, and he was in pain. And every time that he tried to think of that image, like it would disappear immediately because it just like too painful or something. But then he tried to very very carefully like he pictured it like a hunter in the forest, just sort of examining and not really being active, not just examining the thing, just letting it be in front of him and not trying to interact with it at all and just look at all the details. And he noticed that when he looked at the doctor's office, doctors have the mask on their face or whatever, he noticed that there was weird stuff. Like there was like this, it looked like the doctors actually had warped faces, and it looks like under their masks there were actually snouts and just all kinds of weird stuff. Or when he pictured a house, like just a regular house, he would look around at all the rooms and you'd see that like some of the windows were boarded up, or there was a dark figure of some dude standing in the darkness and that he never noticed before. He was just trying to picture a house, or that the chimney was burning, but like all of the windows and doors were shut on the inside, or boarded off or something like that. He just noticed all these really interesting details. And then he decided to try doing this in real life. Actually, like, because this way of looking at something like a hunter in the forest, basically just letting it unfold before him and not judging it in any way or not trying to grasp it, right? Not trying to grasp what it is. He decided to try looking at real life that way. And then all of a sudden, everything that he had ever looked at was 10 times more detailed and more interesting than it had ever been before. It was like he became a child again, and he was able to see through the eyes of a child. It was really, really interesting. He has like several different sections of his notes on himself that are just so interesting. Like there's another time when he wanted to become a teacher, and so he was taking an art class to become a teacher, among other people, among other adults who were taking an art class to become a teacher. But this teacher who happened to be teaching the art class was kind of a crazy dude, and he was treating these adults like they were like 8-year-old kids. He told them to like, imagine a clown on a unicycle, and he rides around the room all across all of your papers. I don't want you to draw the clown. I want you to draw the shape of the tires as he rolls on and off your paper. The shapes are very interesting. Draw that. And so they do that, but they really don't want to because it sounds like a stupid idea, but they do it. And then he says, now I want you to fill all of the interesting shapes with different colors. And they don't know what colors that they're supposed to fill them in, but he's like, any color you want. Fill them in with any color you want. And so they do that. And then they have these really stupid-looking drawings that look like nothing. And then he's like, now I want you to put patterns in those colors. In each of those colors, I want you to put a different pattern. And so they do that. They go through this exercise, and by the time they're done with this weird kids exercise. Their drawings look like complete trash. They don't even like. There is no artistic merit whatsoever, and they're just depressed about it because, and they don't like it because like they're not even being taught like why not have them draw something realistic like the actual clown or a car or something interesting. But then this art teacher goes into the cupboard and grabs a bunch, like handfuls and handfuls of the same exercise done by different students, lays them out on the floor, and they're like the most amazing, detailed, colorful, beautiful looking images. Like the patterns are so well thought out and they fit so well within the shapes, and it's all like it's so much better than their own work, so much better than the work that they just had tried. And they think, wow, this teacher knows what he's doing. He's having us do this absolute shitty job, and then he's showing us what a much more advanced students can do, just to show us how much better we can be. But then they actually look at the names that are written on these pieces of paper, and they realize like the names are kind of like very scrawly and very like almost illegible. And they realize that these other paintings, these advanced paintings are done by 8-year-old kids. These advanced paintings are actually but they're so much more detailed and there's so much more care and effort put into every single aspect of them that there's just like such a big difference. And I don't know, it's a really interesting story. It's really interesting. I don't know. There was another one where he talked about education and how education like isn't a substance. Like education, like most people think like there's good teachers and bad teachers, and a good teacher will teach a lot, will give you a lot of education, and a bad teacher will give you only a little bit of education. But the way that he saw it, the way that Keith Johnstone sees it, is that a bad teacher will uneducate you, will ruin you, will break down all of your creativity and shove it into a box where it won't be accessible anymore. Whereas a good teacher will make you grow and make you expand and become a better person. There's just so many interesting ideas just in this first section of this book. The stuff that he has to say about improv is pretty interesting too. Like he talks about high status and low status and how and when you're supposed to switch between those. And he talks about masks, which is another weird thing. Like apparently masks have spiritual powers to them, and if you put on a mask and look at yourself in a mirror for long enough, you'll become the mask. And it's not necessarily like a possession in any kind of evil sense. It's just like you'll become a more innocent and childlike creature that is occupied by whatever expression that mask is taking. Like you're supposed to put on a mask and then like try your best to form your face into the expression that the mask has. And then eventually you'll become that character. And it only lasts for as long as you can keep that up. It's like he was mentioning before, being a hunter in the forest. You have to kind of observe it and not really get involved in it, because once you get back involved in it, then it stops becoming real and it stops working. Yeah, he just had a bunch of interesting things to say, this Keith Johnstone guy. He also had like students do these weird exercises where they would imagine themselves in a library, and then imagine themselves picking up a book, imagine themselves opening up that book, and then like looking at like whatever page, and then finding a poem in that book, line by line reading it, and they'd find out that like these poems would be nothing like these people would actually ever come up with. So it was weird and interesting and bizarre, and I really found the book cool. So if you're interested in reading something interesting, that was a very redundant sentence, but if you're interested in reading something interesting, check out this book. It's called Impro, Improvisation and the Theater by Keith Johnstone. Yeah, this is sponsored by Keith Johnstone. This book is out of print. I don't even think, like, you'd have to buy it on Amazon or something. But anyways, that's all I have to say. It's been 10 minutes, and 10 minutes is enough time. I hope this was legible, because I'm trying to make this legible. I am really trying to make this better. I am so unconfident in my ability to explain why this book is cool. Like, I really want you to understand how cool I think this book is, and how interesting and how much of a gut punch it was to me to read it the first time. It was just beautiful. Anyways, this has been the Kokino Podcast. Hope you had a good time. Let me know in the comments what I can do to improve. See you guys later.